for the last 10 or 15 years in my work as an organizational consultant and my work with personal development, I've been exploring the notion that there are kind of unseen forces that operate all the time. And I so love Carl Jung's notion of archetypes, kind of patterns, energetic patterns that operate in the background, that are in the background, and in a way we're unconscious to them. In the foreground is our work, relationships and form and structure in the world, but in the background there are these powerful forces at work. And so I tried to distinguish some of those forces, which are kind of psycho-spiritual aspects, and three of them, in fact. And if you could think of this as an archer's target, and at the very core is what I characterize as the essential self, and that other people characterize as the essential self, that which is deepest and truest about who we are. Here's just a little expression of the essential self for something that I wrote. I define the essential self as the empty blue sky within us. The empty blue sky, vast, silent, unchanging, truth, beauty, bliss, peace, stillness, equanimity, emptiness, the unsayable, the unlimited, the wordless, with no past, no form, simply here and now, the potential for everything, the potential for anything. It excludes nothing, desires nothing, seeks nothing, is against nothing. It is the sense of God within. So this notion of the fundamental dissonance comes up when we're a child, ages 6, 7, 8, 9 for most of us, so as a young child. And it involves a wounding. It comes about as a result of an unfortunate interaction, an interpretation that we bring to an interaction, which causes us a lot of grief. And it's significant. You know, many people aren't conscious of that wounding, which is okay, because sometimes we purposefully aren't conscious of it. It was so painful. Others of us have done some work and we sort of have a clue about what that is. But it's very formative, and the fundamental dissonance causes us all through our adolescence and our adult life to create security and to provide protection for ourselves so that we can be effective in the world. So that second level encapsulates, in a way, this essential level that I've described, that place of everything and nothing, where the divine exists, where our purpose exists. Fundamental dissonance. Third level, then, is what we would characterize the bounded self. So our bounded self is a hard external veneer that encapsulates the whole kind of dynamic around the being of a human being. And it is our identity. It's our role. It's the work that we do. It's the kind of clothing that we wear. It's the house we live in. It's our values. It's our kind of economic, social, spiritual, political perspective about things. It's everything that people know about us, everything that in some ways we know about ourselves. And it is not who we are, essentially. It is entirely useful. It's actually neither good nor bad. The bounded self just exists. And there's certain challenges with this notion of our identity as a boundedness or as a bounded self, because it makes the descent a little more complicated back to our essential self. And so my conclusion has been, as a result of the death of my mom and dad, the end of a relationship, the change in my career, a dramatic change that occurred some time ago, all things at the time which felt very challenging, that if I would surrender into those, and if I would allow the full experience of those encounters, that there was a kind of cracking open, that there was a way in which my identity and stories sort of became more malleable, and the light began to, as I experienced it, to come through the cracks. And so there was this paradox of at once the pain and the disorientation And then the kind of awe and wonder and connection that I felt and appreciation for life. It's a very weird thing, complicated to talk about. And it's so fundamental for my work and my life. My whole interest is about that occurring. Well, Nami dies. And it's as if I knew I got that diagnosis that she would only live a few months, that I was on the journey again. And then, bam, I'm into a neurologist and I'm diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And it's, oh my gosh, where is the journey going? And so with Nami's death came a kind of quality of presence and aliveness that I felt. She died on February 21st in this room. Our veterinarian came, a wonderful woman who administered the procedures that caused her to transition, because she was at a place she was alive but barely. So she needed that assistance to move onward. And I immediately went to the monastery for a week and I went to a monastery in California that I love to go to, and I had an extraordinary experience. Again, a kind of deepening and an aliveness that I experienced along with the grief. And I think it's only then that I began to think about my Parkinson's and the mystery of the Parkinson's. And it began to hit me that, you know, of all the diseases, chronic diseases, this is a really interesting one, because there's so many different forms of it. And doctors and scientists don't have a clue where it starts from. They only know about the symptoms. And they treat the symptoms out of a kind of Western medicine model, designing drugs that will address each progressive and change in the development of Parkinson's. And that's the approach. But it just felt like there's so much more to know about it. So I began running into different things. I ran into a place on the webpage where I heard a psychiatrist talk about the importance of music to Parkinson's. And he described a particular Parkinson's patient of his that when music was played, that she was able to get up and move from a place of rigidity, that she actually achieved some freedom from her Parkinson's. And I just thought that was fascinating. A friend of mine shared with me that Michael J. Fox went to Bhutan, and that while he was in Bhutan, that this whole focus in Bhutan, largely Buddhist culture and a preoccupation with happiness, it's a whole theme that exists within this country, actually changed his physiology. That there was a cessation of some of the rigidity and complications he experienced from his Parkinson's by being in that country. So I'm not sure it was about being in that country. It begins to occur to me, it begins to connect with my own work, that it's about a different place or an interior place that he's able to go to, that the woman who is moved by music goes to.